JT back with you, Wrestling Warzone patrons, for episode 2 of Assembling the MCU. And today we look at 2008's The Incredible Hulk, starring Liv Tyler and Edward Norton, and his lone appearance as the Big Green Smashing Machine. This movie generally has a bad rap, and while it's nestled in the early days of the MCU vision, it wasn't easy to rewatch until Disney and Sony struck a deal in 2023 to finally incorporate it into the official canon, where it slots in right after the events of Iron Man. We start with a fun comic-style backstory that is told through quick, flashing frames, which to me is a shrewd way to keep this tight and avoid endless expository. It shows that Bruce Banner was part of an experimental accident that left him exposed to extreme gamma ray radiation and temporarily turned him into a raging incel that accidentally injured his beloved girlfriend, Betty Ross. He took off to safety with the General Ross-led armed forces on his ass, ended up holed up in Brazil, where he anonymously worked in a bottling factory and occasionally asked to fix some mechanical issues as well. Banner avoids getting put into any official payroll position and also gets eye-fucked by the hottest woman to ever work in a sweltering jungle bottling plant. Honestly, who's in HR? This is GOAT tier HR hiring that goddess and a genius like Banner. What are we doing? Bottling in Brazil. Banner spends his free time trying to practice keeping his heart rate down using a rudimentary computer that would make my elementary school library teacher from 1987 even laugh. Instant messaging a mysterious man named Mr. Blue to talk about the possible cures for his ailment. And probably playing Oregon Trail on a floppy disk as well. This is the type of computer you'd see at Spaceship Earth at Epcot, as what the future was imagined to be like in 1965, right next to a flying car. Blue asks Banner to send him some blood, so Bruce heads off to the local post office and mails him a vial. Old school, baby. Unfortunately for Bruce, due to a minor accident, a drop of his blood drips into an open bottle of Brazilian mellow yellow before being shipped off to the U.S., where an assuming old man, played by the legendary Stan Lee, drinks it and drops dead. General Ross and his new hire special ops officer, Emil Blonsky, is all over it and uses the bottle to track down Banner, leading to a fun chase through the streets of Brazil. Banner takes a great path through the town, tossing various booby traps at his aggressors like he's Kevin McAllister, torturing Marv and Harry. You almost wonder if he had rehearsed that and prepped this scamper in case it happened. Banner narrowly dodges the wet bandits, but gets trapped into a fight with his nemesis from work and his buddies, leading to him being pinned down in the factory while Ross's army closed in on them. As his heart rate ticked to 200, Bruce becomes Hulk, skull fucks the factory clowns with ease before wiping out Ross's crew and escaping, later waking up in a haze in Guatemala. The fight scene in the factory was great. It felt like a mix of peak 80s action sequences and a classic horror movie with Hulk lurking in the shadows, stalking his prey. Back on the home front, Betty's dating Phil from Modern Family. That dude just has it. Bags Julie Bowen and now Liv Tyler. What a stud. We get a fantastic Lou Ferrigno cameo as a security guard that Banner woos with a pizza as he tries to break into the computer and find old data from his failed experiment. Ferrigno's best cameo outside of WrestleMania 7 and King of Queens. Oh, and what a shock. Martin Starr hanging in the computer lab. That dude is in everything. We know Guilfoyle don't turn down a bag. Banner fails to find the data, heads off to find another path to victory. Elsewhere, Blonsky presses Ross with the truth on Hulk. We have our first official mention of the Super Soldier Initiative from World War II. Of course, we'll get lots more of that. Emil wants in on the serum. Ross decides to roll the dice and light him up. We see the full procedure, including Blonsky getting stuck with massive needles in his neck and back, and fuck that. Blonsky is blonkers. Betty stumbles into Banner at his pizza place hideout, and immediately the sparks are back. They end up at Betty's house. She gives him the thumb drive with the missing data, and the next day they head to the campus, but Ross is on his ass right away. We have a big showdown in the quad. Banner eats the thumb drive to hide it from the army, and that is a rough way to start and end your day. Banner ends up transforming to Hulk after being trapped in a hallway, doused in some sort of gas. And I'll say, I thought the Hulk CGI is pretty good for 2008. It doesn't feel cartoonish or over the top. It didn't take me out of the movie. I thought it was okay. What was wild is Ross having the entire fucking military and every weapon ever created on standby to join this fray, leading to a fun battle scene and quite the day for these co-eds. Blonsky shows off his new skills and then dares Hulk to step to him, but Hulk just kicks him straight into a tree, destroying all his bones and leaving him in a crumpled heap. During the fight, Hulk protects Betty, and they end up escaping and hiding in a cave. There's some good inadvertent foreshadowing here, too, with Betty soothing and calming Hulk with her voice. Of course, something we'd see in future movies with a certain Black Widow. Betty and Bruce head to a motel where Banner regroups and they create a new plan, and they almost fuck, but Bruce's heart rate gets too high, and he closes that out because he does not want to go Hulk mode and break poor Betty. As they're on the lam, Ross visits Phil Dunphy, grills him about Betty's whereabouts, and I think this is the most badass moment of the movie. Phil basically roasts Ross, puts him in the blender, insinuates he's a worthless piece of shit, a crappy father, and he ain't going to help him at all. Ross walks away pondering where her daughter finds these clowns, but Phil showed way more balls than anything Ross does in this movie. Ross does mention S.H.I.E.L.D. along the way. More foreshadowing there dropped in too. On their way to finally meet Mr. Blue, we get a funny wild taxi ride with Bruce and Betty, adding a brief moment of levity to an otherwise heavy movie. Blue is shook to meet Banner in person. He marvels over everything that's gone down. He shows Banner that he used old blood samples to create a bunch of test cases that he's running experiments on to help cure the uncurable. Banner's not a fan of that, but they proceed to the plan, and Blue sets up Banner to test this hopeful antidote that could either cure Banner forever, kill him, or somewhere in the middle, maybe allowing him to control Hulk. At a key point in the test, Blue's stooging around like a doofus. He's smiling, he's smitten, he's looking off into space like a weirdo. But before the experiment kills Bruce, he's able to shut it down. Betty straddles Bruce. She helps him come back from being Hulk, and they're convinced the test worked to some level. Before they can escape Ross, the now recovered Blonsky, who thanks to the super serum is able to recuperate shockingly fast, and the rest of the army storm campus, and we get another chase that leads to Banner being captured. Betty then disowns her prick father. They head out with Banner in cuffs on a copter. However, Blonsky is left behind, and Blue saves his life by offering to turn Blonsky into a true abomination. Blonsky obliges, turns into a massively insane version of Godzilla Hulk. Blue gets thrown down in chaos. His head is split open, and some of the gamma blood drips into his open wound, swelling his head and setting up a future storyline that would never, ever come. Abomination attacks the copter to try and end Banner and everyone else too, but Banner jumps out of the copter, turns into Hulk as he crash lands into the earth. And we get a big final battle on the roof of a building, including a cool spot where Hulk claps to put out a fire before the copter blows up to kill the Rosses. We also get the first ever Hulk smash to finish the fight. And before he can kill Blonsky, Betty talks Hulk down to spare Blonsky's life, again showing her power over the monster. Hulk runs off as Abomination's in the heat, a worthy opponent that gave Hulk a redemption as a superhero and someone on his level to fight. We wrap up with Banner in a cabin in Canada, showing he can control the Hulk, and he kind of smirks as we cut. And then we get a quick pre-credit scene where Tony Stark shows up to talk to Ross about assembling his team. I've done this rewatch. I found the movie to be a bit better and enjoyable than my original viewing. With the construct of what's to come, even on the fumes of Iron Man, this pales in comparison. But in a vacuum, it's a perfectly fine popcorn superhero movie that has a strong portrayal of both Banner and Hulk. With Ed Norton gone, Banner will take a slightly different presentation, which I think works better in the way they build the MCU going forward. But this was fine as well with him in that role. Liv Tyler's a highlight. She was fantastic. Ross is a good heel. Blonsky's whatever. Mr. Blue's a nightmare. Time for the categories. Let's get to it. Best character, non-superhero division, Betty Ross. Best scene, I went to Campus War, where Hulk saves Betty and kicks Blonsky into a tree. Best song, The Lonely Man, which is, of course, the Incredible Hulk song from the original TV series. They bring it back here. Worst character is Mr. Blue. I thought this guy was terrible. I didn't really understand half the things he was doing and saying, and the way he was portraying the character was odd. Villain ranking, I went General Ross with a 6.5 out of 10. Abomination, 3 out of 10. We didn't get a lot of him. We didn't get a ton of backstory with Blonsky, really. He's just kind of a generic heel, as Ross is kind of the main driving force. A couple of great quotes. He threw a forklift truck like it was a softball. That was from Emil. And then where does she meet these guys from General Ross talking about his daughter's boyfriends. Key debuts. We had Bruce Banner, Incredible Hulk, General Ross, Emil Blonsky, Abomination, Elizabeth Ross, and Mr. Blue. One post-credit scene was Stark meeting with Ross. And then a final score, I went 5 out of 10, which ranks as second behind the first Iron Man in my all-time rankings. Ranking the superheroes, I have Iron Man 1, Hulk 2. Villain ranks. General Ross is our best villain to date, followed by Obadiah Stane, and then Abomination. And I'm also going to start ranking the final battles. And I had this as the best one so far. I really liked Hulk versus Abomination on the roof. Second would be Iron Man versus Ironmonger at the end of Iron Man. So hopefully you enjoyed installment number 2. Please share your feedback, your thoughts on the movie. Let me know what else you'd like to see as far as categories and rankings go. We'll be back with our third installment soon. Be sure to spread the word about the Wrestling Warzone Patreon. Appreciate your patronage. We'll talk to you soon.